At the end of it, we just crash landed and there was this moment of awkward silence. And I was kind of like, I don't think that was that terrible. Well, she disavowed me of that notion right away. And she said at the end of the process, that was the worst case interview I have ever seen. And she just said, I think you have two choices. One, cancel your interview. Like, don't embarrass me and don't embarrass yourself. You're not going to get the job. Or two, prepare your heart out for the next week and a half, and I will give you an exact detailed playbook. Hey, I'm Jenny Rae LaRue, and I'm really excited in this video to share my personal story. Yes, it is story time about how I went from being told that I was the worst case interviewee someone had ever seen to Bain's #1 recruit on the East Coast. And neither one of those are an exaggeration. I'm really excited to talk you through my process, which has become the playbook that we now share with folks that are interested in consulting that has gotten over 15,000 people into top firms. But before I do that, if you haven't already subscribed to our channel, come on, follow along. We do a lot of really fun stuff here, including job alerts, salary reports. We tell you when things are happening, when there are 3-day windows before something closes. We tell you about firms that you might not have thought of, and we make sure that we give you the real sauce on what it's going to take to get in. So let's dive into the story. I was 2.5 years after I graduated from college, after having shaved my head, traveled around the world, and having a blast working in South Africa, building my own consulting firm for the first time. I didn't even know it was a consulting firm. If somebody asked me what I was doing, I talked about economic development. That was really what I was passionate about. But ultimately, I actually had set up a consulting firm to work with international nonprofits in tandem with the South African government to achieve some of their small business development goals. And in this process, I went back to a wedding of a good friend of mine, and sitting next to me at the bridesmaids luncheon was a woman from McKinsey. And by the end of the luncheon, I was desperate to work for McKinsey. She had done an amazing job of persuading me that both my skills were relevant and the work that I was doing in South Africa that I did love was similar to what she did, and also that there was an up level coming my way if I decided to work for McKinsey. But the way that she made it sound was kind of like, I could get you an interview at McKinsey. And honestly, it sounded like I could just drive through a drive-through at McDonald's and grab a hamburger. Like, it just didn't sound like a hard thing. And so I had not done the recruiting process when I was in undergrad. I had no sense of what was required here. And so I just kind of wandered through the process a little bit aimless. So she told me, grab a book, like make sure you're prepared for the case interview, but it was fairly general advice. And I don't blame her for that. She probably thought that I was smart enough to figure out on my own how impossible this was and how many resources I would need to do it and how much prep I would need. But what she did tell me was, I'm not going to put my reputation on the line unless I actually test you with an interview beforehand. So we're going to do a mock about a week before your interview. And so I was traveling on the East Coast from probably the wedding to another location. I was driving on I-95 and I pulled over in my car to do this mock interview with her. And I was imagining she would ask me 5 quick questions, maybe a little bit about business. We would have a little chat. I had read a book about case interviews, but I was not expecting McKinsey case interviews. And I just absolutely waded through it in the most disastrous way. I didn't have a pen and paper. I didn't structure my thoughts. She asked me fundamentally what profitability was. And I was like, revenue minus cost. Like, I mean, I had a business degree, but obviously didn't know anything. And so it was remarkable. But at the end of it, we just crash landed and there was this moment of awkward silence. And I was kind of like, I don't think that was that terrible. Well, she disavowed me of that notion right away. And she said at the end of the process, that was the worst case interview I have ever seen. And she just said, I think you have two choices. One, cancel your interview. Don't embarrass me and don't embarrass yourself. You're not going to get the job. Or two, prepare your heart out for the next week and a half, and I will give you an exact detailed playbook. She was kind of like, in footnotes, you were not smart enough to figure out the playbook on your own, so I will give one to you. And so I chose option B, let's do this and go for it. She had convinced me of the value of going to McKinsey. I was already in the process with Bain as well. So I thought, I can't embarrass myself twice desperately. Maybe once would have been fine, but not twice. And so I should go for this process. And so she just basically said, this is what you're going to do. You're going to do 3 interviews a day or more. They will all be out loud. Some will be by yourself and others will be with anybody that you can find. They do not have to know anything about about consulting, but they need to be living and breathing, and they need to show you a look of confusion on their face if you do not know what you're talking about. And I was like, that's fair. I think I'm going to see that look a lot. And so I kind of dove into the process. She had me begin with market sizing questions. So I did 3 of those a day for the first 3 days, and I did a total of 10 or more of them. I honestly didn't chronicle it, and I didn't think I would be doing this, so it would have been great to have those exact specifics, but it was 3 days, 3 or more a day for the first ones. And I surveyed different industries, and I would look around a room and come up with ideas. And I built a ton of core structuring and data analytics skills just from market sizing cases. I cannot recommend them enough. It was a key piece of how I succeeded. And then secondarily, I went through, and instead of actually going through books, which had not really helped me to that point, except for making me feel like I knew what I was talking about with clearly no impact on my actual performance, I just went and found videos of people that had actually done case interviews. And at the time, there were not as many videos as are available today, but expert videos of great people who get into the industry doing case interviews, or people who are close with feedback. I mean, that is the core of what you should do. And what she told me, which changed my life truly, because getting my offers made the hugest difference in my career. And I cannot emphasize that enough. She told me you should never watch a video without doing it as well. And so I would watch the video and pretend that I was the interviewee, and I would literally mute over it, talk through my answers, write them down, and do everything I could to DIY prepare. I didn't pay for a coaching session. If I had known that they were available, I honestly might have tried to, but I didn't have the funds to just go all in on this in a big way. And you don't have to either. I mean, if you do, I think it is a great, great use of your time if you want to get there faster, or if you want to guarantee you get there. But I leveraged my friends who were already in consulting or who had prepared to help me. I had my mom do case interviews with me. I had anybody who would listen walk through the process. And I did exactly what she recommended, which was I walked through multiple but different business problems, never in the same industry, never the same business problem. A primer in business that was more basic, but honestly more true than a lot of the more advanced stuff that I had studied in the classroom. And I got really, really good at the math and the structure. And in the end, I was walking through my interview process. I was interviewing in tandem with McKinsey and Bain. And I had a conversation that I just will tell you was worth everything. But with Bain in my final round, I did a market sizing case in my first part of my final round with a manager from the Boston office. And then I had a senior partner from the Boston office. And we sat down, and he said, I don't want to hear anything about you, because I had chatted a lot with the last woman. He said, I just want to do a case. And about 20 minutes into the interview, he said, that was fantastic. I would like to offer you a job at Bain in this conversation and spend the rest of our time together talking about why you should work at Bain and not McKinsey. And at the end of the process, he said, we would let you actually pick your office. We were going to think about sending you to the Boston office. We'd love for you to come there. We think there are a lot of reasons to do that, but we would let you pick because we just really want you to come, and we want to compete for you with McKinsey. And ultimately, at this point, you are our #1 recruit this cycle on the East Coast. We think that you'll be an okay analyst and would be a great partner someday. And I think they were right. I think I was an okay analyst, and I never became a partner, but I certainly have stayed inside the industry. I'm a huge proponent of it. And I'm super, super grateful for my friend who invested in me with the truth, who gave me a tactical, personalized plan, what any great coach would do, and then also helped unlock for me a pathway to my future that I just couldn't have replicated any other way. Hope you enjoyed story time with Jenny Ray today, and I hope that you'll follow along for more of the journey. Good luck wherever you are in the process. If you've got questions about how to break in or what to do tactically, please leave them in the comments. We'll respond.